The niece of the county party secretary wants to be a teacher. The secretary of the county party committee asked the director of the education committee to make arrangements, but the director was in trouble. Wu Ming, director of the county culture and tourism bureau, was transferred to the county education committee. Served as director. After graduating from university, Wu Ming was admitted to the civil service. Later he served as deputy section chief. Section chief. Deputy director and director. Wu Ming's brother-in-law is the deputy mayor. Some people say that Wu Ming was proud of the spring breeze. It's because his brother-in-law is the deputy mayor. Wu Ming serves as director of the education committee. One morning a month later, received a call from the new county party secretary. The new county party secretary's surname is Zhou. Secretary Zhou said to Wu Ming on the phone, "Director Wu, you come to my office right away. I have something to say to you." After Wu Ming answered Secretary Zhou's call, hurry to Secretary Zhou's office. Wu Ming arrived at Secretary Zhou's office. Secretary Zhou later said to him, "Director Wu is like this. My niece graduated from college. She wants to be a teacher. Make arrangements for her." Wu Ming was in trouble after hearing what Secretary Zhou said. Because it is now expressly stipulated that the recruitment of teachers requires passing examinations and interviews. If he arranges for Secretary Zhou's niece to be a teacher, it's against the rules. In the future, if Secretary Zhou is transferred, someone reported that he violated the rules by arranging Secretary Zhou's niece to be a teacher, then his position as director of the education committee will be unstable. If he directly rejects Secretary Zhou, Secretary Zhou's face couldn't bear it. After thinking for a while, he said to Secretary Zhou, "Secretary Zhou is like this. To recruit teachers now, you need to pass exams and interviews. If your niece wants to be a teacher, must attend exams and interviews. Of course I'll give your niece some help. For example, I will find someone to give her some counseling." After listening to Wu Ming's words, Secretary Zhou said, "Director Wu, so be it. I'll give you my niece's cell phone number. You can contact her." Wu Ming said yes. "I will contact her as soon as possible." After Wu Ming left Secretary Zhou's office, he took out his mobile phone from his pocket. "Then I called Secretary Zhou's niece Zhao Lu." After the call is connected. Did he say Zhao Lu to Zhao Lu? "I am Wu Ming, director of the county education committee. Do you have time now? If you have time, you can come to the county education committee. I want to talk to you." Wu Ming put the phone in his pocket after calling Zhao Lu. Then he went to his office. Wu Ming arrived in his office. Zhao Lu hasn't come yet. So he drank tea while waiting for Zhao Lu. After Wu Ming waited in the office for about 10 minutes, Zhao Lu came to his office. Wu Ming looked at Zhao Lu. "I found that Zhao Lu was a bit fat with a medium figure." After Zhao Lu arrived, Wu Ming made tea for her. The reason why Wu Ming made tea for Zhao Lu, it's because Zhao Lu is Secretary Zhou's niece. After Zhao Lu took a sip of tea, Wu Ming said to her, "That's it. Secretary Zhou told me about your situation. I want to ask you something. Are you a graduate of a normal university?" Zhao Lu said, "Director Wu, I didn't graduate from a normal university. I graduated from Polytechnic University." Wu Ming said this is the case. Teachers are now recruited through examinations and interviews. I can't break the rules. Directly arrange for you to be a teacher. So you want to be a teacher? You must pass exams and interviews. Of course I will find someone to tutor you specifically. Another point is that you must first obtain a teacher qualification certificate. Zhao Lu said, "Director Wu, although I graduated from Polytechnic University, but I have already obtained the teaching qualification certificate." Wu Ming said, "So be it. Our conversation ends here today. What's going on? I will inform you in time." Zhao Lu, "As promised, Director Wu. Then I'll go back first. I'm waiting for your call." That night, Wu Ming said to his wife, "Secretary Zhou came to talk to me today. His niece wants to be a teacher. He asked me to make arrangements. I said to him, the recruitment of teachers now requires passing examinations and interviews. Besides, I told him, I will find someone to tutor his niece." Wu Ming's wife is called Wu Mei. Wu Mei works in the Administrative Law Enforcement Bureau, and her position is Section Chief. Wu Mei said after listening to Wu Ming's words. Anyway, you have to find a way to make Secretary Shou's niece a teacher. Of course she needs to take exams and interviews. Right. Who is responsible for the teacher examination this time? Wu Ming said. This exam is administered by Deputy Director 1. Wu Mei said. So be it. Have a good talk with Deputy Director 1 after you go to work tomorrow. Wu Ming said yes. The next morning, after Wu Ming arrived at the office, I called Deputy Director 1. He told Deputy Director 1 on the phone that Deputy Director 1, you come to my office right away. Not long after, Deputy Director 1 came to Wu Ming's office. Deputy Director 1 is a middle-aged woman. Her husband is Principal Kai of the county middle school. After Deputy Director 1 sat down, Wu Ming said to her, Deputy Director 1 is like this. Secretary Zhou came to see me yesterday. His niece wants to be a teacher. His niece has obtained her teaching qualification certificate. I told Secretary Zhou. Teacher recruitment now requires passing exams and interviews. This time the teacher recruitment exam is your responsibility. I want you to find someone to tutor Secretary Zhou's niece. I have her mobile phone number here. Contact her as soon as possible. Wu Ming finished speaking. Tell Deputy Director Wen Zhao Lu's mobile phone number. After Deputy Director Wen left, Wu Ming left his office. So where does he go when he leaves the office? It turned out that he was going to Secretary Zhou's office. After Wu Ming arrived at Secretary Zhou's office, tell Secretary Zhou. Secretary Zhou's teacher recruitment examination was conducted by Deputy Director 1 of the County Education Committee. I have told her about your niece. In addition, I gave your niece her cell phone number. Ask her to find someone to tutor your niece. Secretary Zhou said. Director Wu, I very much hope that my niece can become a teacher. Wu Ming said. I've already met your niece. I predict she will become a teacher. At night, Deputy Director 1 said to her husband, Principal Kai. Lao Kai. Director Wu came to see me today. He said to me, Secretary Shou's niece wants to be a teacher. I hope I can find someone to counsel me. Next week, Principal Kai, the niece of the secretary, said that this time we will recruit 3 teachers in the school. I think we can let Secretary Shou's niece work as a teacher in our school. I think so. I will tutor Secretary Shou's niece and try to get her to pass the exam and interview to become a teacher in our school. Deputy Director 1 said, let's do this. I'll call him tomorrow and ask him to go to the county middle school to find you. Principal Kai agreed. The next morning, Deputy Director 1 called Zhao Lu. Did he say it was Zhao Lu to Zhao Lu on the phone? I am the Deputy Director of the County Education Committee. It was Director Wu who gave me your mobile phone number. Let's do this. I'll ask Principal Kai from the county middle school to tutor you, and I'll give you his mobile phone number right away. Zhao Lu said, Deputy Director 1, thank you. Soon, Zhao Lu called Principal Kai. After he called Principal Kai, he went to the county middle school to find Principal Kai. Since then, Principal Kai has tutored Zhao Lu. One night a week later, Principal Kai said to Deputy Director 1, I am really tired from tutoring Zhao Lu, and I don't know how he got the teaching qualification certificate. Deputy Director 1 said, no matter how tired you are, you can't tutor him. Principal Kai said, who will publish the test papers for this teacher recruitment exam? Deputy Director 1 said, Section Chief Su of the Municipal Education Commission. Principal Kai said, he also published the test papers for the last teacher recruitment exam. This old guy, the test paper is too difficult. I think Zhao Lu is going to have a hard time with it. Then you can ask Section Chief Su to reveal some test questions. Deputy Director 1 said, this won't work. Once exposed, Section Chief Su and I will be dismissed. Principal Kai said, I have a way. Deputy Director 1 said, tell me quickly, what can you do? Principal Kai said, my method is to have Section Chief Su present when I am tutoring Zhao Lu. As long as he is present, I will say that I have a bad stomach and need to go to the toilet, and ask him to take me to tutor Zhao Lu. Deputy Director 1 said, Section Chief Kai is a rigid person and he may not cooperate. Principal Kai said, you and Director Wu are both his leaders. You can do his ideological work and help him when necessary, such as promoting him to the position of Deputy Director of the Education Committee in the future. Deputy Director 1 said, let's do this, I'll discuss it with Director Wu tomorrow. The next morning, Wu Ming attended a meeting held by the county government, so Deputy Director Wen did not see him. In the afternoon, Deputy Director Wen walked into Wu Ming's office. In Wu Ming's office, Deputy Director Wen said to Wu Ming, "Director Wu, I asked my Lao Kai to tutor Zhao Lu. My Lao Kai told me last night that it is estimated that Zhao Lu will not pass the teacher recruitment exam this time. Lao Kai I came up with an idea to ask Section Chief Su to tutor Zhao Lu in disguise, because this time the test papers for the teacher recruitment examination will be written by him." Wu Ming said, "I heard that Section Chief Su is a bit old-fashioned. He may not be willing to tutor Zhao Lu in disguise. But we can talk to him. I will call him now and ask him to come to my office." After Wu Ming finished speaking, he picked up the phone on his desk and called Section Chief Su. He said to Chief Su on the phone, "Chief Su, come to my office right away." Not long after, Section Chief Su came to Wu Ming's office. Wu Ming said to Chief Su, "Chief Su, there is a situation I want to tell you. Secretary Shou's niece wants to be a teacher. She has already obtained the teacher qualification certificate. She plans to take the teacher recruitment exam this time. Deputy Director Wen has asked Principal Kai to tutor her. When you have time, you can go see how Principal Kai tutors her and give her some guidance if necessary." After Wu Ming finished speaking, Deputy Director Wen said, "Chief Su, Director Wu and I very much hope that Zhao Lu can pass this teacher recruitment exam." Section Chief Su said, "Both leaders, in 3 years I'm retiring, and I don't want to cause trouble. I will write the test papers for this teacher recruitment exam. If I guide Zhao Lu, once Zhao Lu passes, some people may say that I have engaged in malpractice for this teacher recruitment exam." Deputy Director Wen said, "You guide Zhao Lu, as long as you don't reveal the content of the test questions to her." Section Chief Su said, "People's words are scary, 2 leaders, you'd better hire Gao Ming. If there is no other I'll go back to work." Wu Ming said, "Then you go back to work." After Chief Su left, Wu Ming said, "This Chief Su is really a stone in the pit, smelly and hard." Deputy Director Wen said, "Director Wu, I have an idea." Wu Ming said, "Speak quickly, what do you think?" Deputy Director Wen said, "My idea is to change the person who published the test papers for this teacher recruitment examination." Wu Ming said, "It seems that this is the only way. We must ensure that Zhao Lu can become a teacher. If Zhao Lu does not, if we become teachers, we will be embarrassed to see Secretary Zhou in the future." Deputy Director Wen said, "I think it would be better to ask Section Chief Zhang to issue the test papers." Wu Ming agreed. This time, Section Chief Zhang was asked to publish the test papers for the teacher recruitment examination. "I'll call Section Chief Zhang now." Deputy Director Wen said, "Director Wu, it is necessary to ask Section Chief Su to come again." Wu Ming agreed, and then let Section Chief Su come again. After Wu Ming finished speaking, he called Section Chief Zhang. After he called Section Chief Zhang, he called Section Chief Su again. Not long after, Section Chief Zhang and Section Chief Su came to Wu Ming's office. Wu Ming said to them, "I called you here because I have something to say to you. The person who will prepare the test papers for the teacher recruitment examination needs to be changed this time. Section Chief Su will not issue the examination papers. Section Chief Zhang will prepare the examination papers. Section Chief Su can leave, Section Chief Zhang will stay here." After Section Chief Su left, Wu Ming said to Section Chief Zhang, "Chief Zhang, I want to tell you something. Secretary Shou's niece wants to be a teacher, and she has already obtained the teaching qualification certificate. Now, Principal Kai of the County Middle School counsel her. When you have time, counsel her." Section Chief Zhang is an understanding person. After listening to Wu Ming's words, he immediately understood why Wu Ming did not let Section Chief Su give out the test papers but asked him to give out the test papers. He said to Wu Ming, "Director, you must go and tutor Secretary Shou's niece when you have time." Wu Ming said, "Okay. I will give you the mobile phone number of Secretary Shou's niece right away." After Section Chief Zhang left Wu Ming's office, he immediately took out his mobile phone from his pocket and called Zhao Lu. Did he say it was Zhao Lu to Zhao Lu on the phone? "I am Section Chief Zhang of the County Education Committee. Director Wu told me about your situation and asked me to tutor you when I have time." After listening to Section Chief Zhang's words, Zhao Lu said, "Principal Kai is tutoring me now. If you have time now, you can come over now." Section Chief Zhang said, "Yes, I will come right away." After Section Chief Zhang arrived at Principal Kai's office, he tutored Zhao Lu. In the evening, Deputy Director Wen told Principal Kai that Director Wu had stopped letting Section Chief Su give out the test papers and asked Section Chief Zhang to give out the test papers. It seemed that Zhao Lu would definitely pass the teacher recruitment exam this time. Principal Kai said that as long as Zhao Lu can pass the exam, she can pass the interview. Deputy Director Wen said that Director Wu asked me to conduct the interview, and when the time comes, I will directly let Zhao Lu pass the interview. One morning 3 days later, Section Chief Zhang was at work when he suddenly received a call from Wu Ming. Wu Ming said to him on the phone, "Section Chief Zhang, come to my office." After Section Chief Zhang answered Wu Ming's call, he hurried to Wu Ming's office. In Wu Ming's office, Wu Ming said to Section Chief Zhang, "Section Chief Zhang, how are you tutoring Secretary Shou's niece?" Section Chief Zhang said, "Director, I believe Secretary Shou's niece can pass this teacher recruitment exam." Wu Ming said, "I feel relieved if Section Chief Zhang has your words. To be honest, Secretary Zhou and I both hope that Secretary Shou's niece will become a teacher." Section Chief Zhang said, "I also hope that Secretary Shou's niece will become a teacher." Soon, the teacher recruitment examination began. After the exam, Zhao Lu passed the exam. Zhao Lu attended the interview 1 week after passing the exam. The interviewer is Deputy Director 1. Deputy Director 1 simply asked Zhao Lu a few questions, and soon Zhao Lu received the notice that he was hired. One morning, Zhao Lu reported to the county middle school. Principal Kai warmly received the teachers. In Principal Kai's office, Principal Kai said to Zhao Lu, "Teacher Zhao, what do you want to teach?" Zhao Lu said, "I want to teach music." Principal Kai said, "Then you should become a music teacher." Since then, Zhao Lu has worked as a music teacher in the county middle school.